Hi, and welcome to this TechPathways London interview. My name is Caitlin McMillan. I'm the project manager at TechPathways London, and I'm here today with Nathalie Hoon. Hi, Nat.
Hi, Caitlin.
Nat, could you introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
Hi, I'm Nathalie. I am the General Counsel and Company Secretary for a emerging fintech called Mode Global. Mode is has as all fintechs, has sort of various different limbs, one of which allows you to buy, sell, and earn interest on your Bitcoin holdings. The other facilitates payments using Chinese payment systems called Alipay and WeChat Pay. And we're just about to launch a new open banking payment system.
Brilliant. That all sounds very exciting. Just to check, you used the word fintech there. What does fintech mean?
Well, I think fintech can mean lots of different things. I think sometimes, I'd say there are two different ways to describe fintech. One is that you are creating a new technology, and that's your basis. So I think we probably could look at something like open banking to look at that, i.e., allowing easy payments in the back end. Or, for example, Bitcoin is definitely new technology. It's using ledger systems, decentralized finance. However, I think actually when we're looking at real fintechs, the ones that we know as household names now, sort of the Revolut, the Monzos, they've not done anything new. The tech they've created is not particularly exciting. They've got good apps, they've got good functionality for young people, but actually what they're doing is providing a sort of alternative service. So I think I would say there's alternative finance and there's fintech, and they're two slightly different areas, but you could call them fintech as a whole.
And how did you get to where you are today?
Actually, a relatively traditional route. Studied law at university and went to a large law firm in the city to qualify as a lawyer. Spent 7 years there or something, working extremely hard, and decided that I wasn't cut out for maybe doing the same work every day. In that role, I was advising large corporates, FTSE 100 companies, FTSE 250 companies, in relation to a lot of their financing. And I decided I wanted to make a move into an emerging market, or a sort of startup environment. And it made sense to go into a finance-based environment, and all startups in the finance spectrum sort of space are called fintechs, whether they are technology based or not. They're all called fintechs. So that's where I ended up. Applied for the job, and they wanted me, and it seems to be a year later, seems to still be going quite well.
It would be really interesting for you to talk us through a little bit working in what people would consider quite a traditional job, I think, being a lawyer. But doing so in a digital and technology focused organization. How do those two things marry up?
Sometimes with difficulty, I would say, but mostly I think if you want to be a lawyer in this environment, as you say, it's a traditional career, and a lot of people are maybe less keen on change, I would say, and more keen on structure. This is probably not the job for you, but if you want to add value to a company that is doing new things and always has new ideas and entrepreneurial spirit, you have to get on board with that. And you can also do that in the law. The law is ever changing. Often admit you don't know the answer, I would say, and go away and research. I advise on everything now. It's I'm not just looking at financing. I'm also looking at the HR, the employment law, at regulation, certainly, because we're in a fintech space. So all financial businesses will have to think about, if not be regulated by, the Financial Conduct Authority. And that's certainly a sort of a very specialist area, and that's something I'm learning very quickly. I'm looking at the tech contracts as much as I'm looking at NDA, so non-disclosure agreements, and drafting contracts for new payment systems. So it's you have to definitely be flexible, I think, as does anybody in a startup business, and in the tech space, because you're trying to do something new. there's always a question that comes in, Nat, can you just have a quick look at this? It's really easy. No, it's not. The law is never easy, but you have to get on board with that. So that's fine. And I think a lot of the challenges are explaining that to maybe someone who is more tech driven, where, you know, you program for an answer. Whereas in the law, unfortunately, there's never a clear answer. It's just, I think this is the best route.
You work within that tech organization in a non-technical role, but I'm assuming that your job does involve using technology. So could you talk us through some of the technologies that you might use on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think me and the rest of the world that are working from home have been using Zoom a lot over the last 6 months. And I think that's a real test.
How we are recording this interview here today.
Exactly. And I think a real testament actually to our business that we shut the office back in, you know, March, just before the government required us to. And everyone has been working from home since then. We've had people working in China, we've had people working in Estonia, Lithuania. You know, they've gone back to families because otherwise they just wouldn't have seen their family and friends. And actually the business has absolutely thrived from an online portal. We've got such motivated staff that, you know, that has made a huge difference. So I mean, Zoom has changed everyone's lives. Slack, of course. You know, from a personal, you know, my personal role, you know, I would say I'm a wordsmith. I spend a lot of time using Word. Unfortunately, it's not a great document for a lawyer, but also it's not a great program. It's not specialized for lawyers, but actually Word, you know, I would say it's extremely important to be able to use Word competently. And I don't just mean typing things out. I mean formatting and, you know, quick tips, things like that I think are really, really important, because, you know, everybody will use Word, and Word funnels into your emails on a daily basis. And the ability to send a coherent, easy to read email is absolutely vital, and I think will take you so far.
If you were talking to a young person who is expressing an interest in doing what you do, what would you recommend that they start doing?
I think there are loads of different things that you can, you know, depends, you know, how old are you? You know, if you're 18, you know what, I would say if you can spare £50, you know, go and buy some Bitcoin if you're interested, or go and buy, you know, a cryptocurrency, or get yourself involved in that. And I think that is quite an easy way to try and understand what that sector is talking about, if we're talking about the cryptocurrency or digital asset sector. Obviously, if you're a bit younger, I'm not, you know, don't go and buy Bitcoin. But I think read about it. There's loads of online information about, you know, if you're interested in decentralized finance, you know, go and have a look at it, go and read about it, have a look what all of these companies are doing. But I think in terms of, you know, when you're looking to enter the digital sector, you know, I don't think personally in 5 or 10 years time there is going to be a digital sector. That is all sectors will have a huge focus on digital or technology. And so I think, yeah, get yourself used to it, but also accept that technology is going to change and adapt, and you have to be willing to take a plunge and do something that you're just not sure about. And I think that's a really important thing to say, is that, you know, I think this is an idea, if you want to be a developer, or if you want to be, you know, a lawyer in a fintech, or you want to be a product manager in a fintech, that you have to have done it before. And it's just not the case. You know, we have developers on our, you know, in our company who, you know, code in a certain way, but it doesn't mean they're not capable of coding in a different way. And I think you just have to accept in all jobs that you're not going to be able to do 100% when you arrive. And by the time you can do 100%, I suspect you want to leave that business. So, you know, prepare yourself for a challenge and be flexible about learning new things. And then I'd say, I mean, I'd give that advice for any sector, but I think, you know, the digital age has arrived and is only growing. So that's even more important, going to be an even more important part of our jobs going forward.
Nathalie, thank you so much for your time today.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me.